Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we are going to talk about the most important players in the NBA this season. I'm really excited to kind of dive into this. We're going to have some picks that are a little bit off the beaten path. We're going to have some picks that are some of the best players in the NBA. So it's going to be a really fun conversation. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? We are a week away from some media days. I think we're a week away from some training camps opening up. We got like NBL has started. Is this the Blitz right
Bryce.
now? So
No, it's
regular season.
And I got to tell you, I went to Melbourne United and New Zealand last night. It was great. The basketball game was not great. Melbourne United was up 25 basically by the end of the first quarter. And I'm going to be frank, I'm not sure I've seen a worse NBL team than the New Zealand team that I saw yesterday. Like Sam Menenga's out. Parker Jackson Cartwright, I think, is dealing with some injury stuff. Was not great, but I got to see two draft prospects in Dash Daniels and Karim Lopez. It was interesting. It was kind of exciting to kind of get back into the swing and get to a regular season game that matters. And Melbourne United looks awesome, and I'm excited to kind of see what happens here. Dash Daniels looked really. There are limitations there, all like still with Dash, like what we saw at the under 19s, still matter and are relevant. But man, the ability to get downhill, the defensive intensity, his ability to play in transition. He did make a three. The jumper is all over the place. There's going to have to be a lot of work done with it, but I really just enjoyed seeing him play with confidence and play with like aggression in a way that was exciting.
Yeah, I very much look forward to the Sam Vecenie. To me, waking up first thing in the morning in America to the Sam Vecenie NBL game tweets and getting updated on how Dash Daniels looked. I saw some Karim Lopez tweets as well.
So can I talk about Karim real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So Karim had a really good second half. I think he had like 14 in the second half, honestly. He needs to like really improve the body language stuff.
Okay.
There were a lot of moments where he seemed to get quite frustrated and like disengage on the court. Like there's one particular moment in the third or fourth quarter where I think he like got fouled driving to the rim, but didn't get a call or didn't go to the line to shoot. So they had an inbounds pass from the baseline. And then like he ran the action. I think the action was for him. He got really frustrated and like just kind of went like this right to the rim and then just like vacated out to the corner and just like looked frustrated. There were quite a few moments like that. He needs to improve that stuff. There were positive moments for Karim. He had like one drive where he crossed up a couple of guys and ended up getting to the rim for a dunk, but Karim is not so good to where the scouting community won't pick up on the frustrations that we saw and frankly like some disengagement stuff. And look, I get it. This game was over by the first quarter, guys. Like it was, the Breakers had like zero chance against their ball pressure. They had zero chance against what Melbourne United was doing on the interior with Jesse Edwards, but like stay engaged, like stay locked in. Like Isaiah Brockington was out there like trying to get his teammates going. It felt like the opposite with Karim Lopez, which is a bit frustrating.
Interesting. No, I obviously haven't watched the game yet. And this is like to our point, not that we need to bring back up Adam Silver's presser and the whole highlight comment, but like, this is why that fired me up anyway, was highlights can very much skew how somebody played a game, impacted a game.
Yeah.
You can't evaluate from Twitter highlights. And, you can't even if you have access to go click on points and watch all of those, like to truly evaluate players and figure out the nuances of the game, you have to be able to watch full game. So I didn't intend to pull that back in, but that's interesting on Lopez because just quickly scrolling Twitter, and I would never make an evaluation fully based on that. I'm smart enough not to know to do that, but you would have thought that he had a really impressive performance and all was on the up and up and all of that. But overall point is
everything he did was after the game was completely done.
Got you. Is I enjoy waking up in my first tweet seeing Sam Vecenie's takes on the NBL from the night before. I very much enjoy this.
Well, I will be there on Thursday night for Melbourne United in Southeast Melbourne. So we will get a couple more prospects. Malik Lewis, still a prospect.
Yep.
Certainly we'll get to see Dash Daniels again. Southeast looks more well coached at the very least. I think Josh King is a fantastic basketball coach for Southeast Melbourne. So, not a wildly talented team compared to some of the others in the league, but a team that I know will bring it at the very least against Melbourne United, which is important. So, okay, we're going to talk about the NBA now. Let's start the conversation here. When I said to you, hey, these are the most important players in the NBA season, that's what we're going to do. How did you go about kind of trying to find a list here of guys that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so that's really interesting because that was my first thought was, okay, how am I going to do this? Because you could take this a multitude of ways. And so what I actually have a name for every single team in the NBA. I know we're not going to talk about all 30. I understand that. But what I kind of divided it up into was the teams that I think are in play to make a run in their respective conference. So I split those teams out, and then I just decided, like, who do I think is the biggest X factor combination important player, right? Because for some of those teams, it is their star. For some of those players, it's not a role player, but it may be a second option or a third option or somebody I think that really needs to take growth, or maybe somebody that needs to stay healthy, or somebody that needs to repeat what they did last season. So I have a list of, how many ever teams that I think are somewhat in play in their respective conferences. And then I ranked, what I thought was most interesting from those players. And then I took the other teams in the league and I found their most interesting players to me that I thought might get traded this season that could become important because they get moved to a contender. So I think we'll probably stay in my first list overall, but at some point, it may be at the very end, I probably want to drop a few of the names in my other list of, I think these guys could be important because they may get moved to a team that's trying to compete.
I love it. I kind of went with a more like ad hoc kind of idea where I just wanted to talk about certain guys.
Sure. Okay.
And I think they're going to be incredibly important this year. And I just kind of went with it that way.
I love it.
I want to talk about the Jonathan Kuminga thing, so I put Kuminga on this list.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some other guys here, but let's start. I'm gonna bring Luka Doncic to the table here.
Okay.
Do you have another Laker?
I do.
Okay, so we'll add whoever that person is at the end here, but I think that Luka is probably the guy that is most important just league wide to me this year, because really last year was not great. Let's just be real about it. Last year was not Luka's best, in large part because he dealt with the calf injury. And then when he got back, I felt like he was still not really in great game shape at that point, which was a problem. So I think that if all of the reports are true, the whatever fitness magazine that Luka did, certainly I thought he looked in way better shape at like Eurobasket. So we do have like some proof of concept here. If Luka is making a commitment to his fitness, I think he might be the MVP this year. Like I think he's in that conversation immediately. If he's not, the Lakers just don't really have a shot at all. if he is in his like full, I am staying like in shape, I am making sure I'm leaned out, I am doing everything I can to put myself in position to be the most successful basketball player I can be. And again, last year I think was a bit of an anomaly because of the calf injury and the trade and so much upheaval for Luka that I think people really need to recognize the way that that can like impact somebody's lifestyle in a lot of ways. But this year to me is a really important one for Luka to kind of get back on track. This is a guy that's made 5 first team all NBAs already.
Yeah.
And last year was such a funky year that I feel like even though he had made literally 5 straight first team all NBAs in each of the last 5 years, that people are like a little bit down on him, in that the momentum has kind of stopped, even though we are in the middle of a season where he got traded and had a calf injury. I'm expecting Luka. Like, I didn't want to put Luka on the breakout list because Luka is a 5-time first team all NBA player and literally has averaged 29 points per game for his career. I thought that would be completely ridiculous. But I think we're in for just a completely comical, like incredible Luka season is what I would say.
I think over on the Pistons polls, 02, I think predicted Giannis. I think I predicted Luka for MVP, and I hadn't put a ton of thought into it. Like we were just kind of casually talking about it over there, but I think this is a good name. You know, for me, whenever we get into the list, and especially like immediately when we get into the other Laker I had, it's definitely not like a name that's as big as this. You know what I mean? I think when you first think of this for the entire NBA, like I think Luka's probably the name. You know what, from my side of it, kind of how I explained it was like each individual team, and then, you know, and then I ranked it out from there. So like I think, because if Luka is the Luka we know, the 5 straight first team all NBA Luka, and you know, and then we'll talk a little bit about, you know, the rest of the Lakers and how that really makes this Western Conference even more interesting. An elite level Luka adds another team into the tier of Western Conference contenders in an already stacked Western Conference of the Thunder, the Rockets, for me, the Nuggets. And so I think in regards to the NBA as a whole, I like this answer a lot because, and you know, the biggest award in our game, him at his highest level, he's now up there with SGA and Jokic and those guys, you know, and Giannis in that conversation as well. So I like this one. I went with a Laker that wasn't as big of a name just because I think that person, you know, the type of season they have is going to have a major impact on their success as well. But I like us starting here with a name like Doncic.
I think that the big thing for me with Luka is that this is now his age 26 season, right? This is when it should really be coming in and he should be hitting his prime, right? Sure. Like this is where we should be like truly seeing it. Like he just made the finals as a 24-year-old, right? He averaged 34 points a game. This is a 24-year-old that year and was a complete monster. Almost averaged a triple-double, 34, 9.8 and 9.2, and led his team to the finals. And then Nico Harrison kind of loses his mind and trades him, right? This is the year where we should see it from Luka. Like this is the year where, okay, we've suffered some adversity a little bit, right? We just got bounced in the first round of the playoffs and frankly, like didn't look awesome in that series, right? Like for the first time in his career. I know Luka averaged 30 in that series, but the passing and playmaking like didn't feel totally right, and the defense was a total mess to me. So every other really playoff series in his career, he's been the best player on the court. I think he finally got outdone by Anthony Edwards. I'm sorry. Anthony Edwards in a playoff series, right? So what can you do now? What can you bring to the table, Luka? Do you got it? I think he's got it. I think he's ready to like really blow up this season and be the dude, like not just one of the 5 or 6 dudes in the league, but I think there's a chance that we look at this season and see Luka as like, oh yeah, this Lakers team that we have all these millions of questions about entering the year. Oh no, like it's Luka's show now. It's his team. LeBron is there to support him. Luka goes for like 30, 10, and 8 per game. And now we're rolling. Like the Lakers are kind of in a 6 spot here moving forward.
We talked about it when the trade happened that like if there was ever a time for Luka to buy into, like, to get a chip on his shoulder, it was a move like this, getting traded away from Dallas. And, and I don't know, like, I have no idea what him and LeBron's relationship is, but I'm not just getting traded and being motivated in that way, but getting traded and playing with a player who has withstood the test of time, like has us all questioning, like how is he doing this at his age still? And we talked about, like, in a weird way, this be the best thing for Luka Doncic's individual career? As much as we didn't agree with the trade, as much as we felt for Mavericks fans and all of that, was this potentially the exact thing to untap Luka's highest of ceilings? And I know that's crazy to say with all the other stuff we've already brought up, the first team all NBAs and, the runs in the playoffs and all of that. But if he's going to have elongate his career as far as possible, was this actually the wake up call, if he needed one, to say, I need to respect my body and what it takes to be in the best shape. And here's the chip on the shoulder. And here's I don't want to say role model in that sense, but here's the model to do it with LeBron James. Like, who better to learn from and to watch and to take in, because nobody's done it better in terms of longevity than LeBron.
Yeah, I think that's right. Just looked at Fanatics Sportsbook real quick to see what
where's he at?
MVP. He's third, plus 450 for MVP.
Behind Jokic and SGA.
That's correct. Those are the exact 2 he's behind. And then you mentioned Giannis. Giannis is plus 800, which I think is actually like kind of a big number for Giannis. But I just wonder if they're going to be good enough at the end of the day.
Yep.
Okay. You're up next.
I don't want to go to the Laker I had, because like I think it's a different tier. Can we come back if we even want to get into that name, or do you want me just to say it and we won't really dive
Let's talk about the Laker, and then I'll give you another name after, just because if we want to do this as a pool video, which we might, it makes sense.
So I actually had 2 names here. One, like, you're gonna hate me, is DeAndre Ayton. And I
think DeAndre is an important name.
Oh, okay. Year. Okay. I didn't know if you'd be like, come on, Bryce. Like, I think he's important. And I think, to your point, like, it's just fascinating. Like, what is this watching DeAndre Ayton and JJ Redick may be worth the price of admission to sit as close to the court as possible, to listen to what JJ said and to get JJ's facial expressions with some of the stuff that's going to happen. With that said, this is a team, again, like I mentioned, that could really catapult into Western Conference contention if Luka is what we just said, LeBron stays healthy. I don't have Austin Reeves here because I know what I think Austin Reeves is as a player, and I'm just confident in that. To me, DeAndre Ayton is the piece. And if he comes in and he's a lob threat and figures out things defensively and develop, like, what if he does develop chemistry with Luka in the pick and roll, Sam? Or has some chemistry with Austin Reeves in the second unit if they're playing together in second units? Like, all of a sudden, this is a hole in the team, a question you mentioned earlier that gets answered. Now, why I think he's the most important, is because it could go way the other direction. And what if it's an absolute dumpster fire? What's the answer? What is the answer on the roster if it doesn't go well and JJ doesn't trust him and doesn't feel like he can play him? Give me the answer to the center position.
I think it's not on the roster. Currently is the answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, if Ayton is good, it makes life a lot easier. It means they don't have to trade using their relatively limited, like, they're starting to accumulate more assets now as time goes by, and they haven't gone for this like kind of all-in move. Like, they haven't done what it does is, if Ayton can play, part of the reason that I've seen some people like be in favor of them doing a first round pick for Andrew Wiggins, right? Using some of their expiring money, Gabe Vincent, etc., to be able to then move that for Andrew Wiggins along with a first round pick. My reason why I wouldn't do that right now, I might be in favor of it in a couple of months, but the reason to not do that now is that you might need that pick value at some point to go get a center if it doesn't work.
Yeah, and what if Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart do enough that you don't feel like you need Wiggins? And like, what if those two guys are really good and Ayton is really bad, right? Like that's a scenario. Then, okay, well now you're looking to move somebody else to go get a center. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So like to me, it's a really important thing for the Lakers to just kind of play this out to start the year and not just go, oh yeah, like let's go do Andrew Wiggins now. Like let's see what they've got. Do we have an answer at center with Ayton? Do we have, answers on the wing with LaRavia, Smart, etc.? Let's find out first, right? Maybe we know, maybe we don't. Is kind of the thing. Like I think that they need to kind of play this a little bit more patiently, though, than what I think some Lakers fans want. Just because, look, if you have LeBron, Luka, and you have enough bodies now in terms of depth to where you should be able to like make the playoffs in the regular season. If Luka gets hurt or LeBron gets hurt, like you're probably in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
So I think there's real reason right now to be patient and play this out just like a little bit more. Not like I'm not sitting here saying like you have to wait until the day before the deadline to make a move, but I would want to see what the team looks like before making a move.
Yeah, give those two guys a chance to show, does Smart have anything left defensively? And with LaRavia, is he the defender that I think he is, which I think is better than what most people think he is or realize right now? And, can he knock down shots in LA and all of those things? And is there anybody else, right? Like, not that it would be the defensive side of things, but does Connect come back and give you more? Does Vanderbilt stay healthy? And, I'm with you. I think I would give it a little bit of time, find out those answers. And like you said, and get your answer for Ayton, because no matter what the wing situation is, if Ayton's a disaster, you have to go solve that. Even if those guys aren't the answer on the wing, you have to go solve the center position with some sort of trade like what we saw get negated during last season.
Yep. Okay. Before we move to your next one, we got to shout out our friends over at NUTRFOL. NUTRFOL is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. If you're dealing with hair issues like thinning or shedding, but you feel totally stuck on what to try next, look, I get it. There are a ton of products out there. It's hard to know what's going to do anything. But NUTRFOL isn't just hype. It's physician formulated, it's clinically tested, and it's even recommended by dermatologists. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since NUTRFOL hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF Contents certified. That is the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, NUTRFOL clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy using a variety of hair measurement tools like hair counts and pool tests to assess growth, quality, shedding, and texture. It's super easy to add into your daily routine. You just purchase online, no prescription required. And then automated deliveries and free shipping are going to keep you on track. Plus, with a NUTRFOL subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free one-on-one naturopathic doctor consults to support you on your hair growth journey, and a Headspace meditation membership is included. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with NUTRFOL. For a limited time, NUTRFOL is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to NUTRFOL.com and enter the promo code GAMETHEORY Find out why NUTRFOL is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at NUTRFOL.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com. Promo code Game Theory. That's NUTRFOL, promo code NUTRFOL.com, promo code Game Theory. I mean, Bryce, we've also got another fun announcement here before we move on. Game Theory is starting a Substack channel.
Hey.
The Substack is active as of right now, but nothing is up there yet. We're going to have the first thing go live tomorrow. It's going to be an AJ Debinsa breakdown from one of his games at the U19s. We have 3 AJ Debinsa games going live this week over on the Substack channel. It's going to be Game Theory samv.substack.com. That's Game Theory SAMV .substack.com. I'm really excited to kind of get to do this and kind of have some fun. It's going to be all video. The Athletic gets all of my writing, obviously. So if you want video breakdowns like that just kind of don't fit on the YouTube channel and kind of don't fit in terms of the podcast that we're doing now, like a lot of the, post-game theory things that we've done over on the YouTube channel and things like that, like that's probably going to go up on the Substack if we're breaking down tape, particularly. It's going to be a lot of tape breakdowns. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And then additionally, if you subscribe over on gametheorysamv.substack.com, once a month, Bryce and I are going to do, or Andrew and I potentially, are going to do a question and answer format. So Substack subscribers will get to ask us questions and we will answer them. We will kind of talk through whatever you guys want to talk through. That's the plan. But I'm excited to kind of do this. I think it's a really fun thing. And I think it's really, something that we've kind of wanted to get off the ground for a while. And finally, it took us a bit of a minute to be able to do so. This is going to be the absolute best way that you can support the Game Theory channel, though. We've gotten so lucky, like we're almost at like 75,000 YouTube subscribers now, which is just like completely bonkers to me. We appreciate you guys so much. We appreciate everybody here immensely for subscribing over on the YouTube channel and just continuing to rock with us and have so much fun with us. But yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a channel of video breakdowns. So I think I've gotten like 10 draft breakdowns like already queued up. I think like 3 for Debinsa. I've got a Steinbach one from U19s. I've got a couple of Mikal Browns. I've got acquaintance done. Like we've got some like really fun stuff coming up here in the preseason. And then once games start, it becomes even easier. Yeah. These are just kind of things that we're doing anyway. So it's a nice little easy addition to our workflow, kind of over the top. I mean, you've been doing this for years, but Bryce will be involved. I mean, Bryce is, got his own Substack that he does for certainly Piston stuff, but he'll chip in here and there with some stuff that just like doesn't fit with the Piston stuff. Right. So, yeah. Really, really excited to get the Substack off the ground and kind of have some fun with this.
Yeah, everybody definitely go subscribe. But just real quickly, I'm excited about it for you guys and my contribution. Sam mentioned a little bit, but I'll just tell you, like, I will, anytime I can, I will give little quick 1-game video breakdowns. So let's say Darren Peterson, Kansas, Connecticut plays. I saw today, whenever. And if it's Darren Peterson or maybe Terrace Reed Jr., who's a name that's popping up right now, has a big game, I will just do like a quick video breakdown over that one game. Like, what did they do well? What would I like to see them do more? What did they do in that game? Maybe they hadn't done in other games or vice versa. And so it's, if people familiar with my work have seen it, throughout the playoffs a little bit, if you watch any of the Pistons stuff. So it's a little bit different because it's not an all encompassing. It's like a 1-game breakdown of how did this prospect look in this game. That's just kind of how I have to keep it too for now because of, time stuff, because I can knock those out fairly quick. But those will be my contributions whenever I have time throughout the season. So I'm excited for the fans, but I'm also excited to contribute when I get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, tends to be what I will do as well, or like game breakdowns that like look at the big picture, but also, are using single games as kind of things worth looking at. Dirty Dancer asks, free or what's the cost? It's going to be $6 per month. So we didn't want to go crazy on price here. Like, we're not trying to crush you guys in terms of like price point or anything. I think that that's one of the cheaper Substacks that's out there, frankly, having looked at the price point on a lot of things. Like, we wanted to make sure that we were kind of below that price point just because this is so over the top of what we're already doing. And a lot of it will be here on the public side as well. But if you subscribe for the year, you'll get a pretty decent discount. I think that it's $60 for the full year. So it'd be like a 15 to 20% discount if you do the full year. There will be a lot of, breakdown stuff though. And there's going to be a pretty good amount of content over there because look, Bryce and I watch a lot of games and it's just kind of really easy for me, once I finish a game to just go for 45 minutes and talk about like what I saw during the game, right? I'm pulling tape constantly and doing things. So the content, like content wise, there will be a good amount of content up there for sure that I hope will make it worthwhile for you guys to subscribe at the very least. So again, for people listening on the audio side, Game Theory Sam V.substack.com. If you are watching over on YouTube, there's a nice little QR code that you can click into and
fancy.
Make it very easy.
Nice.
Yeah. Substack makes it easy. Okay. Now that that's done, let's get to your first most important player in the NBA.
Trae Young. Trae Young is my number one player
Trae was the next guy I was going to bring up.
I assume so. Again, just to real quick reiterate, I looked at the teams who I think can be real contenders of some capacity in their conference, and then who were the players on said teams that I'm like, okay. And I think Trae Young tops my list. One, this is a compliment to the Atlanta Hawks, the organization in general, and where I think that team is. I think they're a top 4 team in the East right now. And I think with health and things coming together, the play of Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, bringing in one of my favorite players, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Risa Shea, in year 2, all of that, they've set themselves up to be real contenders in the Eastern Conference. But all of that is Trae Young having his best year yet. I think that's what it comes down to. They put the right type of roster around him, the right players around him to insulate him on both ends of the floor. And so I think he has all reason to be the engine of this offense and then give enough effort defensively that, it's just not a disaster on that end. And along with the fact that extension eligible, player option, all of the contract things that go along with this situation as well. It kind of easily was Trae Young for me, especially after like the Luka Doncic conversation we had earlier.
Well, I'll even flip this one on its head. You know what I mean? I think that this is the most important season of Trae Young's career.
Sure.
Is what I would say. Trae, I think by and large has been, just who he is as a player. He's been really great for quite a long time, right? He plays, typically 70 games in a year. He's played at least 73 games in 3 of the last 4 years. Made All NBA, in 2022? So 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago now. But this roster particularly is really built around him and built in a way to maximize his ceiling. So what do I mean when I say that? So we have at center a big who can really space the court and will be able to allow Trae Young to like really live in the paint in the way that he is so capable of in ball screens with his ability to keep guys on his hip, maintain advantages, and to be able to get to floaters. Like that floater for Trae is going to be even more open now because of having Kristaps. Kristaps can also roll to the rim. Like he's not a massive roller. He does tend to pick and pop because of how dangerous the shooting is. Kristaps is one of the few bigs in the NBA that you have to guard out on the perimeter. If you don't, or if you don't get a body on him as a trailer, you're dead. You are just absolutely dead. He's going to make threes. On top of that, just defensively and in terms of athleticism, right? You have Dyson Daniels. You have Risa Shea, who's another long, active defender who's not super strong, but like is certainly a guy that I think is going to be a good defender in time and could be a good defender even as of this year. I thought he definitely knew where to be last year. I thought that his basketball brain was really strong defensively last year, just in terms of knowing where to rotate, being able to play in that 1-on-2 on the backside. I thought he was really, really strong at that. Then you also have, obviously, like I said, Dyson Daniels is one of the best defenders in the league. Hopefully he gets an extension done here momentarily. You go out and you sign Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is this, another high-level defender who can knock down shots. You have Onyeka Okongwu as like a backup center, so you should have 48 minutes of really strong center play. You have your rim runner in Okongwu. You have your pick and pop weapon in Kristaps. I am fascinated to see if they try and play those guys together at any point this year.
Oh, I bet they do.
I would bet that they do as well. And then finally, you also have Jalen Johnson here, who's really their second best player and who's like a perfect running mate for Trae Young in transition, right? Because of his ability to get up and down, because of his ability to grab and go, his passing ability, everything like that. You've built literally the perfect roster for Trae Young. But Trae Young is not signed past this year. He is signed past this year. He's a player option if he gets hurt or something. But like Trae Young is not going to pick up that player option if he's healthy, because at the end of the day, somebody's going to give Trae Young a bunch of years at the very least at a similar number, if not a max number, because that number that he's on, like I think it's 48 next year, right? 49 almost. That's not his max number. So somebody's going to give Trae real money in the offseason next year, and they're going to do it over term. So if he stays healthy this year, that option's gone. Like there's no way that he's doing that. The other thing is here, they could just extend him at the end of the day. Like they could very well just extend him, and that can change things. But the fact that he does not have really a deal past this year, he has a safety valve is what I would say with the player option for himself. They've built this roster perfectly around him to get the most out of him. This is the year where Trae really has to go, because the other piece of this too is when they made their first run, right? Mm-hmm. When they went to the conference finals and they beat the, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Philadelphia 76ers and everything, that took a lot of people by surprise, right? And then they were no longer a real surprise team, right? And they kind of stagnated a little bit. Trae himself, I would argue, just continues to be great and is still one of the best drivers of offense in the NBA. And I don't think it was his fault that they stagnated. Like, I don't blame Trae Young for the fact that the team just didn't take the next step. I think that there are myriad other reasons why the team didn't take the next step, be it from DeAndre Hunter not taking that leap, like 45 other guys, like Clint Capella starting to feel the effects of age, and like there are just a million other things. Bogdan Bogdanovic like not being great, and then like John Collins, them not really figuring out his fit, right?
The DeJounte Murray trade that didn't
the DeJounte Murray trade was a catastrophe, right? So like I think that the team stagnated, and it wasn't necessarily his fault, but he's the leader of the team, right? They're not going to take anybody by surprise this year, I don't think. People are expecting them to be like the 4 or 5 seed in the East at the very least.
Yep.
How did they adjust to going from the team that is like the surprise team? Because they've never really gotten to that point where I think there were genuine expectations outside of those like 2 years out after the conference finals, really maybe even just the 1 year after the conference finals, frankly. How do they adjust to being a little bit more of the team that has expectations? I think that Trae is kind of built for this, to be honest with you. I think that he wants that. I think that he kind of loves that. We've seen it in the playoffs. But it's important for him to show it at the end of the day and to actually do it. And that's a whole other conversation. And I think he will do it. I think we're in for a big Trae Young year. I think he's going to be right on the borderline of all NBA again. But man, I am truly, truly interested to see what happens with Trae Young this year, because you brought up the contract thing as well. I mean, Trae Young, has a chance to be the biggest free agent in the summer of 2026. At the end of the day, depending on other extensions and things that get done. LeBron, obviously, there are myriad other guys that could be on the market, but he might end up being the guy It's not impossible. So to me, Trae Young is, absolutely one of the most important players in the NBA this year. And it is the most important season of his career, I think.
Yeah. I think that's why he ended up at the top of the list for me, was not just this team, this roster, all of that, but what you said there, that's really well phrased in terms of it, not just for them, but for him specifically, because there's already people who really question Trae Young and his talent and how good is he and how, blah, blah, blah. But we can't outline, if this team stays healthy, what this team is. And if they don't win at a fairly high level, it is going to really come down to Trae Young. And then the questions really start in terms of what is he? Because it's hard to imagine a team better constructed around Trae Young as a player than what Atlanta has done right now. Again, assuming there's no crazy regression from players, there's no major, if Kristaps plays 20 games and that's it, well, then that conversation is a little bit different. If Jalen has a regression or Risa doesn't improve or, something like that, because the other thing they do, like, there's other ball handlers to take pressure off of him. Jalen can do that a little bit. Dyson Daniels can do it a little bit. Luke Kennard can do it a little bit. Nah can do it a little bit. So whenever there needs to be a little bit of pressure off him in terms of the ball in his hands and doing all that, they can do that as well. I'm not saying he's going to go play off the ball a lot. I think we know that's not something Trae is going to do. But it's just like, when you think about what does Trae Young need? Okay, these big perimeter wing defenders, plenty of those guys, right? Do they have the floor spacing? You mentioned the two different types of bigs. It just is a team that seems to fit him very well. And so I think he needs to have his best season because people are expecting that from him, along with the expectations on the team overall and the contract situation.
Yep. Okay. You're up next. Or no, I'm up next, I guess, because you went Trae.
I went Trae.
Okay. I'll go off the beaten path here.
Let's go.
Because I just want to talk about the Jonathan Kuminga thing.
Okay.
Right. So on its face, it seems pretty silly to have Jonathan Kuminga in this conversation. Right. You and I have questions about Kuminga. You and I are trying to figure out what he is as a player still, right?
Yep.
I think everybody in the league is still trying to figure that out, frankly. It's why he wasn't, a priority for a lot of teams in restricted free agency. But here's kind of the reality of the situation that the Golden State Warriors find themselves in. They either need to rely on Jonathan Kuminga to take a leap and become like a real dude for them, or they need to move him and get stuff for him in order to like really contend and compete. Because by the end of last year, they were pretty awesome. Like, they were a genuinely great defense. And I feel like they are kind of, because of this Kuminga situation, they're kind of like flying beneath the radar a little bit, right?
Well, I think rightfully so, Sam. We don't know what the roster is. Like, how am I supposed to properly?
We kind of do, though.
I know, but it's a little bit different. Here's what I say. I know we know that Horford's going to sign and Seth Curry's going to sign and DeAnthony Melton's
seems like Melton's going to be there.
Gary Payton is like, I understand that, but I guess my point is, I think it is vastly different if Jonathan Kuminga's on this deal that's not tradable compared to if Jonathan Kuminga is traded for Malik Monk in a first-round pick or, something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I do think that matters, and that's why I do think it's a little bit difficult to properly rate them. Like, we know who the big three are and who some of the role players are, but is an unhappy, untradeable Jonathan Kuminga on this team? Because I think that's a factor. And to your point, that's why we're talking about him.
So, like, they obviously have the big three of Curry, Butler, and Draymond, right?
Yep.
They're also going to have Al Horford, Brandon Pajemski, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Trace Jackson Davis, Guy Santos, GP2, probably, it seems like. DeAnthony Melton, probably, it seems like, right? Like, that's a pretty deep team. That's a pretty real
Quentin
situation.
Is unacceptable.
Quentin Post, I'll shout out Quentin Post too. I think he had a really solid year last year, right? Especially as a rookie. But I think what's most exciting, if you're a Warriors fan, is that you still have all of your picks and you still have this Kuminga deal at hopefully like $25 million to be able to move at some point and then go get another real dude, right?
Yeah.
So the question for me is like, this is still just like an insane leverage battle. It's a leverage battle kind of unlike anything I've seen in the league in a while. I think it would be crazy for Kuminga to take the qualifying offer. And I do think the Warriors have more leverage here than what Aaron Turner and Jonathan Kuminga do, because it would be kind of wild, in my opinion, to take the qualifying offer if you're that dude and not take a guaranteed 22 million, 21 million, whatever it is this year.
Well, isn't it a guaranteed 50 now between two? Like, wasn't it reported 3 for 75 with the club option on the third year?
Yeah. Like, I have no idea why you wouldn't take that.
That one, am I crazy for thinking that one seems somewhat reasonable if you're Kuminga, like 3 for 75? I know you don't love the club option and you don't have the I understand they want to keep the trade thing. Like they don't want to just get traded wherever, but like that's 50 million guaranteed over 2 years now, Sam. Like you're gonna have to make up 40 plus million if you take the QO. And you say like we're coming to a head, are we not? QO's October 1st.
Yeah.
So like we're 10 days away from this thing having at least one domino to drop.
Yeah.
Domino to fall. I mixed two different ones there. I apologize.
Drop worked. The fact that they have 3 years on the table with the third being a player option, I didn't think that the 2-year deal was great. You know what I mean? But I still think he probably should have done it at the end of the day, because I'm not a massive Kuminga believer. But a 3 for 75 with a team option in year 3 is kind of crazy to me.
To not take, you mean?
Yeah, because there are a lot of questions about what Kuminga is as a player, and there are a lot of teams that like aren't sure if he's good, frankly. Like they have a team option on a third year, not a second year now. Like if it's a team option on a second year, right, you're in a bit of stasis, right? Like you're not sure what your career is going to be, everything like that. But like a third year now, like let's even say that you make 50 in those 2 years and then the team doesn't pick up the team option, right? You've made $75 million, right?
Yeah.
Like you've made $75 million in your 2 years, and that team option doesn't get picked up in the third year. It is what it is, right? I get it. But I get that you don't want to do the team option. I get that like that's a problem. And I get it. There was a real problem for you when you did the first one, or when it was on the second year, right? When that first offer was 2 for 45 and it's a second year team option and like you have no control over things. I think it's pretty wild, right? I do think it's pretty crazy. Someone asked me, what did you think of the agent doing an hour on local radio? Aaron Turner, you just kind of don't have to talk. In my opinion,
he was on the Hoop Collective. I listened to it today.
On Hoop Collective. Like, I just don't think you have to talk in this situation, to be honest with you. Like, I get it, but to me, like, there's nothing to be gained by doing this, I don't think.
And I'll be honest, Sam, like, I didn't think he didn't throw out, I'm not trying to like throw shade. I truly am not. I didn't think there was anything said that made me see Kuminga's side a little bit. I thought he was like quite frankly, I thought he came off perfectly like reasonable and all that. I felt like he just laid out their side. He laid out the Warrior side, and it was kind of like, okay. There wasn't anything that swayed me like, man, they're really screwing Kuminga over or whatever. Like, it was interesting to listen to an agent talk because you don't always get that on podcasts, but I didn't think there was a whole lot of favor done either way, to be honest. It ended up being very neutral for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and like there's a way that comes off incredibly poorly if you're Aaron Turner. I didn't think it came off like incredibly poorly. I just think that it didn't help at the end of the day. Like nothing there helped, in my opinion.
Yep.
And frankly, like if I was the Warriors, I'd be kind of pissed about it. like the leverage that they think that they have in this circumstance is that the Warriors do need the big salary for Kuminga to like execute high-end trades, right? So by taking the qualifying offer, they're kind of screwing the Warriors, and that's why you can threaten the qualifying offer here. But here's the thing, man, like, okay, let's say Kuminga does the qualifying offer. He doesn't have the trade, potential, right? I mean, you still have like 25 million in Moody, Heald, and Pajemski. You can't get up to like a massive number necessarily. If you can get up to a guy making like 30, right? I don't know, man. If I'm Kuminga, I'm taking the 375 with a team option, but I'm not a massive believer. Like if I'm his agent, I'm probably a way bigger believer in Jonathan Kuminga's talent than I am personally. And I'm going for it, So, but the thing is that if it's like you said, if you do the qualifying offer here, that's like 8 million. If you do the 2-year $50 million deal, let's call it, with a third team option for whatever it is, right? You got to make up 40 million next season. Or you have to make up 65, let's call it 67 million over the next 2 seasons, which means you need Jonathan Kuminga to make $35 million a year basically in free agency after taking the qualifying offer, after you've screwed Golden State by taking the qualifying offer. So they will have no connection to you whatsoever if you do this. Like they will have no reason to feature you. They will have no reason to like really give you the chance to like go out and go nuts and ball. I do not think that agency and that Jonathan Kuminga has the leverage that they think they have in this circumstance. And I think taking qualifying offer would be cutting off, your nose to spite your face, basically.
Sure. Yeah. I think we had been, we talked about this along the entire way. And just whenever I heard the 3 for 75, I'm just like, man, that's just, that seems like a reasonable deal to take. I understand not wanting the club option. I get it. I understand wanting, the no trade clause, the ability to, control your destiny and all of it. I get it. And in some ways I feel bad for Kuminga, where he's been in a situation where it doesn't seem like him and the head coach, for whatever reason, aren't on the same page. I think it's
no. There's a reason. It's that he doesn't move the ball quickly,
correct,
and that his skill set
doesn't match.
Correct.
Like it's not his fault.
Jonathan
Golden
Kuminga,
State miscalculated bringing him into their system.
Yeah, I think it's on both sides for sure.
Jonathan Kuminga should have been able to adjust his game to make himself a viable option for this team.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Yes.
I think that you need on some level to take some ownership and
decide,
hey, I have agency here. I can make myself a better player. Yes. Right. I can figure this out on my end. But it is on the Warriors too for selecting him when it wasn't a great fit. Right. Yeah. That's the reality. So in my opinion, it's frustrating that we're still having this conversation about Kuminga.
Yeah.
Because I get why we're having it, but I don't know that as a player, he's worth all this conversation, frankly. Yeah. But look, I have him in my most important players of the season list because what he decides to do here in the next 10 days and what the Warriors decide to do with him if he picks up the qualifying offer and what they decide to do with him if he signs a deal, so incredibly important for them in terms of being a contender or not being a contender, right? Or if he signs, him being good and figuring it out and them giving him some leash to be able to go, that's really important for them too. So he immediately becomes one of the most important players in the league, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think that that's that's what this list is for, right? Is like, it's not just, okay, who are the best players in the league? They're the most important. It's, you know, the little nuanced conversation of Kuminga. Can they get something out of him? Can they not? What can they trade for him? How does that fit on the team? So listen, he was one of my names on the list. He was a little further down. But like, I think the conversation is valid. 100%.
And here's the final thing I'll say on Aaron Turner deciding to go on podcasts and things like that, right? I think that what has happened here now is it is exceptionally difficult for the Warriors to back down, in my opinion, because he's decided to kind of go as publicly as he has with this, right? And I get it. The Warriors, like, they do have favorable people that they leak to, like, you know, again, it's a two-sided equation here. But because the offers have gone now so public, I think it is hard for them to back down, because if they decide to give him a player option, other agents are going to look at this and just go that they're walkovers. And it's too easy. Like, we just hold out at the end of the day, and they're going to have to give us what we want to give them, or what we want. So I think that's like almost the downside of like going as publicly as both sides have with this, right? But at the end of the day, I think that hurts Kuminga's side more than it hurts the Warriors side. And I mean, the player option thing, I mean, what has Jonathan Kuminga done to like earn that is kind of my question too. But I don't know. Like, yeah, the key here is either he's a massive salary, like a matching salary, or like the Warriors end up kind of screwed if he takes the qualifying offer in a big way. So it's a really, really important thing.
Real quick, where do you think we land now? Like, is the compromise now no option? Like, is that what we eventually get, is just 375
straight 2 years, 50?
Okay, yeah. And then you hit unrestricted free agency, 2 years. Okay. It's interesting.
I don't like, that was an idea I had. You know, maybe I think that 375 is like completely fair for everybody if he gets the team option. You know what I'm like, team option on 375 is like completely reasonable. Or whatever it was. It was was it 360 or something? Yeah. It was like 360. It wasn't 375. It was like 360 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just scared. I mean, I'm kind of ready for some of these decisions to be made. and
we got two of them. Like, we got Cam and we got Giddey done.
I'm gonna get this one wrong. That's the problem. That's why. I think I predicted him to get traded, so I'm gonna get this one wrong.
But. Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing too. So people have asked, like, you know, Sacramento offered Malik Monk in a first-round pick with other players. So I do just want to kind of talk about that real quick, and we've talked about this briefly before, but the reason that can't be or is not as enticing a deal,
tertiary move,
potentially, is because really depends on what the pick is, right? Because Malik Monk is also like not an amazing fit within that scheme, right? I think Malik Monk's a really good basketball player. I think you and I both really like Malik Monk, and frankly, like, I think he might be a better fit than Kuminga is within that scheme. But in order to fit that money in and then do all of the other things they have to do, they have to move one of Moses Moody or Buddy Hield after that. So what happens if you have to attach a pick to be able to move Buddy Hield? Because I think they'd rather move Hield, would be my guess, if you're getting Malik Monk. Are we sure that another team like would be in love with taking Buddy Hield? I don't know that. They'd have to scour the market. It's been hard for teams to dump salary, though. We know that. So you have that piece of it. Then you also like have whatever the pick is. If it's an unprotected pick, like, to me, that's what I'm negotiating for. I want an unprotected pick. But if I'm not getting like that kind of unprotected pick, I don't know why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not sure why I'm making that deal whenever I have to go out and make another deal where I might be losing, you know, capital as it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those deals that in a vacuum, you hear Malik Monk in a first for Jonathan Kuminga and you go, oh, that's really fair. That makes total sense. Like, why isn't this done yet? And then you actually look at it and you think about the way it would impact Golden State and you go, oh, well, wait, does that work for us? Like, are we sure that that's a good idea for us?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not as convinced, I guess. Like, in theory, yes, it's fine, but it might not be. Like, I'd have to know what I could do with Healed. I'd have to know, like, there are other things that would really matter there. And really, I would only do it if I'm getting like a very lightly protected first.
Yeah, no, it's one of those where the tertiary moves become so important because of what do we have to do to get off the money? And then what are we going to get for the first round pick? And how do we cobble together the money to get a player that, we're going to bring in? How does Monk fit into our backcourt whenever we're talking about bringing in all these other players along with who we already have? It just, I'm with you. Like, in a vacuum, it doesn't sound like a bad deal, but it's piecing together all of the other parts of that puzzle.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, you're up with a player.
So I went back to the East now, and a team I think is going to be the top of the East, and I think is probably primed to make a run. If you ask me to name the team that I think is going to represent the East in the conference finals and the NBA championship, I'm going to go Evan Mobley, Sam. And this has a lot to do with what I just mentioned in terms of who they are, their expectations, but also what Evan Mobley was as a player last season, where he averaged 18.5 points while winning Defensive Player of the Year. And then in the playoffs, he was their third leading scorer still at 17 points. He shot really well from three in the playoffs. He shot pretty good from three in the regular season. We saw the offensive game expand a little bit. And, I think we know what Donovan Mitchell is at this point. We know what Jarrett Allen is. I think we know what Darius Garland is, kind of where he can fit into this. Can Evan Mobley take yet another leap? Because I think he did take a leap last year. Can he take another one? And maybe it's not as big as one, but if you can go another 3 to 5% off what we saw last year, that's substantial when we're talking about a guy who already made second team All-NBA and again was DPOY. So for me, Evan Mobley is really important, really interesting for this season, because can he be the second, maybe even the number one? Like, can he make the argument he's the best, most important player on the Cavs because of the two-way impact? And then where does that take their ceiling in terms of trying to go win not just the Eastern Conference, but a championship overall?
Can he be a consistent 20 and 10 guy? Like,
Correct.
That's the step, right? Yep. Can he really continue to make strides as a 3-point shooter to open up the ball handling, right? Can he continue to be able to attack the rim? Can he, be able to play in short rolls in the way that we've seen, right? All of these things are so critical for the Cavs in their development as an organization, as a potential NBA finalist / title contender this year. Look, like, is he going to get like a little bit stronger, right? Does just continuing to add strength year over year in the way that we've seen from him allow him to absorb contact as a driver even better, right? And then that opens up even more of his game. Like, if Mobley is like if he can go from being he went from being like a 15 to 16 point per game guy in his first 3 years to going up to like 18.5 last year. If he can take just another stretch like that, where it's okay, I'm going from 18.5 to like 21.5 this year, right? 22 points per game with 9 rebounds. It'd be huge for them. And I think that this upcoming like early season run without Strus and, them trying to find answers in terms of like the bench units and things like that. Cause a lot of the times they play Garland and, Mobley together in those like kind of bench units. Sometimes it's Allen, sometimes it's, Mobley. Like they do so many different things, but like he should get an opportunity to be able to really play in that way. And it's exciting to me that he did take the offensive jump that he did last year, because it says that he's not done growing yet as a player. And I think that because he's not done growing yet as a player, we might just see internal growth from the Cavs again, and they might just continue to take another leap forward.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the strength aspect. That's one thing that stood out to me this year was being able to hold his line on his drives. I think it's also an aspect defensively in terms of where he's able to hold up. And this is the kind of level of score you need. And I think it would listen, I think, Mitchell, Garland, all of these guys together, it's fine if that's where they want to stay. But if Mobley took that leap offensively, then you could look at like, okay, do we need to move, do we want to keep the Mitchell Garland backcourt, or can we do something a little bit different with it? Because, Mobley has taken over as the second scorer on this team. And so we have that locked down. And now maybe Darius is more of a luxury than a must have. So I'm not saying they need to do that. I'm just saying it opens up options on the team. And yeah, I just think with where they're at in the East, what I think they're going to be, he's right up there with Trae Young in terms of, players I'm looking for specifically in this conference and what they're able to do this year.
Well, and the big thing for the Cavs as well is that we've gotten some like weird Garland reports where I think I saw one that like, oh, it's not looking super great for him. Like he's definitely going to miss training camp, and then like going to miss some time into the regular season. Then I think like Terry Pluto and Cleveland came out and said that like it's going to miss a few weeks, but like it's not too bad and like it's all okay. Look, if Garland misses time to start the season, this is like a really good opportunity for Evan Mobley to take that next step forward, right? Where, okay, Donovan Mitchell's like running the show. We need a secondary ball handler out there. We need somebody who can like really grab and go and create early offense for like all of that becomes really important for Mobley too.
Yeah. No, I mean, we talked about it, in terms of like the opportunity for, Sam Merrill, whenever we did our breakout stuff. And, so we talked about like Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter. And, I saw a Cavs post of like, projecting the starting lineup. If there's no Garland and there's no Strus, I mean, Mobley is the number 2 option there with a huge offensive load, which I think is the silver lining of that situation, right? Like you don't want to be dealing with injuries, but it's squarely, no matter who they put in there, whether it's Merrill or Ball or Hunter or, whoever, he's going to take on a huge offensive load. And I think that would be good to stretch him and push him to, his fullest potential as an offensive player, as long as he can keep the defensive impact that we saw last season.
Yeah, like how they utilize the starting lineup will be really interesting there too. I would guess Merrill. But like, look, if it's, we were assuming Merrill for Strus, but like if Garland's out a little bit too,
probably going to go Merrill and Hunter at that point, right?
Probably. Yeah, I would guess so. Cause I think that they probably just won't want to put that many minutes into Lonzo early in the season.
Yeah.
I'm sure their vision for Lonzo is like, hey, we get this amazing guy, kind of similar to the Caruso vibe.
Use it. Yep.
For Oklahoma City, where it's like, okay, let's play him like 15 minutes a game. And then, really unleash him, hopefully in the playoffs, where he can just be this havoc-inducing defender who makes great decisions, who can knock down shots. Like all of that would be really valuable.
When the team is fully healthy, Craig Porter Jr. can take some of those minutes from Lonzo during the regular season, trying to save his legs and all of that a little bit. And then you save Lonzo's big minutes for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. I guess I'm up this time.
Yep.
With another pick. I will go. Let's have the Nuggets conversation. So
okay. This one's fun because we have different names for the Nuggets.
So I said Cam Johnson because Cam Johnson is the new guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So Cam Johnson is the new guy here in the mix. And to me, the Nuggets certainly look like a team that should be at the top of the Western Conference, right? Obviously, we could just say Nikola Jokic is the most important player in the league because he is. He's the best player and everything like that, right? You could say Jamal Murray. Like, how does Jamal Murray look? What does that look like this season? Look, I kind of think that Murray looked pretty good by the midpoint of last year. Honestly, like I thought that the end of his regular season was quite strong. So I'm like less worried about him, like, coming back, off of like injuries and everything. Like I think he's going to be fine. It's really, and like Cam Johnson should be the perfect fit. Like it should work absolutely perfectly across the board, but he's the new guy in the mix here. And, they gave up a first round pick in 2032 in order to get off the Porter deal and to do Cam Johnson. And how Cam Johnson fits in terms of being able to take bigger defensive assignments, allowing Aaron Gordon potentially to slide down the lineup and guard more ball handlers in certain moments, depending on how they want to get flexibility wise. Cam Johnson being able to take smaller defensive assignments at times can be a little bit tricky. Is it the same as what they had with Michael Porter Jr.? And additionally, one thing that MPJ does do at the end of the day that, people can quibble with or whatever is like Michael Porter Jr. rebounds basketball.
Yep.
Like he really goes up and rebounds and gets the ball. Do they have that same level of rebounding ability? Because, the Denver Nuggets were 17th in defensive rebounding rate last year. Look, they have other guys that will certainly come in and change that, but, this has been like a middle of the pack to slightly below average defensive rebounding team the last couple of years. And losing Michael Porter Jr. from the starting lineup, doesn't help in that regard, right? Especially with Cam Johnson, who's, I would say, a below average rebounder for his size, right? So how Cam Johnson fits into like what was essentially like the best offensive, or really like one of the best starting lineups in the league over the last few years is really critical to me.
No, I think it's a good call. I had Murray, but to be completely transparent, Murray was the last of my names of the like good teams that are competing in their conference list, just because I do think ultimately we know who he is, but like Nuggets were on this side of the equation for me. And so if I was going to drop a name for the Nuggets, but I like the Cam Johnson call out because I do feel like the easy conversation is, home run for the Nuggets. They upgraded on Michael Porter Jr., the contract, all of that stuff. And it's just like, I do think it works. I do think it most likely will be fine. Cam Johnson will knock down shots. You mentioned the defense. I think the defensive rebounding is important, and it's going to be interesting to see who brings up, who makes up for that. If it is Cam Johnson, if Christian Brown gets more involved, if somebody off the bench is able to do it in their minutes. But I think this is a good call because they do need him to come in and fit in well, to knock down shots, to be an upgrade defensively. And while I do think it's easy to play with Nikola Jokic, it is something a little bit different. And you're playing, in high leverage situations, playing for the Nuggets now, if you're Cam Johnson, and that's a little bit different. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm probably with you here. That name's better than Jamal Murray, which is the name I had.
Yeah. So in Jamal's final 42 games of the year last year, 22.4 points, shot 49. Wait, what happened here? I lost, literally somehow just like died on me for some ungodly reason. 49, 41, 92, with 5.8 assists per game versus 1.9 turnovers, like a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, damn near 50-40-90, like essentially was 50-40-90 for the last 3 months or 4 months of the season last year. I kind of think he's just fine. Like I think that Jamal's kind of back into what he has been throughout the entirety of his career. Yeah, like I'm not as worried about Jamal, I guess, but maybe I should be. I mean,
I don't think you should. The only thing I'll say, and these are just the raw numbers. If you look at the the previous 2 playoff runs from Murray compared to the most recent 2, it's not like the most recent 2 are bad. They're just the raw numbers. Again, the raw numbers aren't quite the same, where the last couple playoff runs, it's right around 21 points a game. Shooting splits aren't quite as good as like the finals year. He was the championship year. He was 26 points on 47, 40, 93, and 7 assists, where the last 2 aren't quite that. So like that is part of it. Like I do think they need him to be the level up playoff Jamal Murray at least in the playoffs. I don't think I think in the regular season he can be what he's been, because as we've mentioned, I think they have more depth this year than the last few years, at least, especially regular season depth. You can question Tim Hardaway Jr.'s viability in the playoffs. You can question some of the young guys' viability in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I think they're going to have the dudes, if they're healthy, to manage the regular season. They need Jamal Murray to level up in the playoffs the way we saw in the championship run for them to go beat the Rockets, potentially the Lakers and Luka, and then obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Well, they've just got, like they've got a lot of tougher dudes too, like Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, like being able to rely on those three to give you like real defensive intensity and everything like will really help. They've insulated, what some of Cam Johnson's like, non-areas of strength are as a player. And it should allow them to be very successful. Like, look, I don't know where we're going to end up with Denver when we do over-unders. Like those are coming either end of this week or maybe next Sunday. I can't remember when we're starting those. But I'm excited to talk about Denver because I'm just really excited about their season this year. Like I think they're going to be awesome. And I do think Cam Johnson's going to be a great fit. Like I'm not sitting here making a case that he's not going to be good. I think he is going to be good in all likelihood. But if he's like a little bit less than the sum of his parts, it does really hinder them, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. You're up next.
Yep. So staying with the trend of the Western Conference and teams at the top, I'm going to go your guy, Amen Thompson, because I think this Houston Rockets team is obviously a team at the top of the West. They made what it wasn't an all-in move, which I think is why we liked it so much, but they made a move to really compete. Not that they obviously competed last year with where they finished, but they make the move for Kevin Durant. They sell out on one of their young guys. And I think we all know what Kevin Durant is, right? I think we feel pretty good about Alperen Şengün. We mentioned him on potential breakout players on the most recent episode. I think Amen is one of those guys. Like we know what he's going to be defensively. What else can he bring offensively? Is he their second best player? Is he their third best player? Is he their best player whenever you account for both ends of the floor? And so I'm just kind of interested to see mostly what he can bring offensively, because I think you get KD as your number one option, obviously, then Şengün. And I guess my question is, Sam, if I ask you, who's the Rockets' third leading scorer? Who's the third offensive guy on this team in general? What would your answer be? Because while we love this roster, I think that answer could go a few different ways. And so I just think Amen and what he can do offensively, even if it's not third leading score point per game stuff, I think is really important for him to take that step forward on the offensive end for them to go be true title contenders.
I think the answer is Amen. I do.
I think so as well. Fred as the next best answer.
Well, I just wonder if like Fred ends up kind of taking some shots here and there, right? Like, but again, like Amen, look, like Fred averaged, more shots per game than Amen last year, but I would imagine that KD ends up taking some shots from Amen from Fred versus Amen. That'd be my theory, at least. It's fascinating to try and sort through what their offense is going to look like, because they're also going to run, the two big lineup off the bench from time to time. Like then they have the Dorian Finney-Smith of it all. They have Jabari Smith. Like they're going to be awesome. They're going to be so good. And I think the answer might just be that it looks different on a night to night basis, depending on what the matchups are and who they're able to take advantage of. And I think that's probably the way that they want it, right? Like I think that they prefer the idea of, okay, we have Kevin Durant now and we have Alperen Şengün. Like those can be our two offensive pillars. And then, if it's a team where we can get out and transition and like really beat them down the court, it's going to be Amen Thompson. If it's, a team where we need to run some more high ball screen stuff with, Fred, where we need somebody who just makes like unbelievable decisions all the time and, consistently gets us in and out of our offense, then it'll probably be Fred, right? There will probably be games where, one of their shooters gets really, like if Jabari Smith gets really hot, or if Dorian Finney-Smith like drills 5 threes in a game, right? Like that's going to happen, obviously. The other sneaky thing here that I think people are forgetting beyond just Jalen Green leaving, right, is that like Dillon Brooks also took a lot of shots. Like Dillon Brooks took 12 shots a game. You know what I mean? So there are shots up for grabs here in a real way.
Well, so just real quick, Sam, Fred averaged 14-1, Amin averaged 14-1, Dillon Brooks averaged 14 last year. Just like, and that was players 3, 4, and 5 in terms of points per game in the regular season. So sorry.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be Amin most of the time. And I think Amin's a really important player because you can make a case that he's just such a problem solver that he's going to be fucking awesome no matter who he's out there with. And that tends to be my case, right? I think Amin is this unbelievable player. I love him. I think he's going to make an all-NBA team at some point. Like I am such a massive fan of his for sure. But you can also make the case that like, okay, there are going to be times where, okay, so like we're running too big and then we have another non-shooter out there with a men, are we going to go too big with a men like Tari and, Fred, or too big with Reed as the, point guard, because we're doing that in bench units a decent amount of the time. Right. That's like not an incredible overall fit. And I think that we talk about the Asar and Jalen Duren fit all the time, because I think that that's something that hasn't gone super well. I actually think the Şengün and Amin duo together, when they're not with a second big like Steven Adams, I think that works really well. I think those two have really good synergy in terms of not operating in the same spaces.
Well, Şengün doesn't operate the same space as Duren, right? Like Şengün wants to operate at the free throw line or 15 to 18 feet away. And then at the end of the day, Şengün's a better passer than Duren, even though Duren's probably a better passer than most people realize. And Amin is a better passer than Asar, even though, again, Asar is still a good passer. But I would agree that they've probably figured that out quicker than JD and Asar have.
Correct. So like, I think that's going to be fine. And I think adding KD makes it like even easier to make it work. You know what I mean? Sure. And I think that, frankly, removing Dillon Brooks, who teams, I don't want to say would like leave totally open, but there'd be times where like they would close out a little bit lighter on Dillon. Right. So like if you're running out Fred, KD, Amin, Şengün, and like one of Jabari or Dorian Finney-Smith or whoever, like guys that you probably have to guard at the end of the day as shooters, it should open up even more space for Amin within their starting lineups, within their, smaller units to be able to work. And then, if you want to go super small, like if, Steven Adams missing a game and, I know that they signed Clint Capella too. So like they have real ability to consistently play big, but if they want to go small, they can go small. Like if Şengün is just taking a blow and, you want to run out a Jabari Amin 4-5 lineup, like you can do that too. So I think what makes the Rockets flexible and so good is what makes them so good is their flexibility, right? They have the ability to go super big. They have the ability to go like normal sized big with, KD, Amin, and Şengün.
And they have two different centers they can do it with, right? Like you do it with Şengün or Steven Adams. And I mean, technically Capella as well, but like, he's on the tail end of his career. But yes, they can do it.
Or they can go quite small, but like the key to being able to go all of these different directions is A, having like the size that they have on the interior, but B is Amin. Like Amin is kind of the Rubik's Cube or like the Rosetta Stone or whatever you want to say, to be able to unlock all of these things, because, okay, you need somebody who goes in and crashes the glass. Amin can go get you 10 rebounds in a game. You need somebody to play on the ball. Amin can play on the ball and run the point and do things that way, right? You need somebody just to be like a fucking killer defensive wing who's going to go out and get stops and do everything like that. He can do that too, right? So, yeah, Amin is a very important player this year. I think this is a really good call.
Yep, No, I like it. Like I say, as I went through my list, those were the three that I've said so far were the three that like I was like feel pretty good. Any name I say the rest of the way, I was maybe a little bit stretching, trying to be creative. But Trae, Evan Mobley, and Amin were the three that's like these are. Two of them are real title contenders. The Hawks, obviously, not quite the same level, but those three names were ones that immediately came to mind for me.
Yeah. Okay. I am up next. I will take Victor Wembanyama here.
Okay.
And the reason that Wemby is important is like obvious. He's coming off of a blood clot, and last year, by the time he had the blood clot, I think that he was probably first team All NBA, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like I think I would have had him as my fifth guy, first team All NBA at that point.
I have my list. No, I don't.
We're looking at a circumstance now where Wemby has a real point guard in De'Aaron Fox, like consistently to play with. He has decent shooting around him now. He has another big in Luke Cornett, which I think is like kind of an underrated signing that will allow them to potentially go big. I still don't love those like, Wemby at the 4 lineups that they would run out with Zach Collins, but I'm willing to give it another shot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm willing to kind of see what happens there and go for it. I think that this is just a massive Wemby year at the end of the day. We have to figure out is this team should be pretty good. If Wemby is as good as we think he is, they have enough talent now between Castle and
Fox.
Well, I was going to say Castle and Harper, even though Harper is going to be hurt to start the year. With De'Aaron Fox, obviously, as well, entering as like a former All-NBA player who's like, certainly a top 35 player in the league.
I almost, you did the obviously different levels. I almost had Fox on our breakout list because of like, I feel like we weren't quite removed enough from the All NBA stuff for me to do it though. Because it was only, it was only what? It was 22, 23. So I didn't think we were quite far enough removed for me to do that. But I think Fox could be in for a big year was going to be my point. So,
yeah, I mean, look, like I almost said Fox on this list, to be honest with you, instead of Wemby. Yeah. But like, to me, their whole season is going to be if Wemby is who we think he is at the end of the day. Right.
Because he's MVP candidate if he is who we think he is.
That's right. Like imagine if he takes another step forward. He took a step forward last year, right? Like he went from being a great rookie who was about as good as we've seen from a rookie in quite a long time, basically since Luka, I would argue, to going 24, 11, and 4 assists while blocking 4 shots a game, taking 9 threes a game, drilling 35% of them, getting to the line 4 times. Like if he adds like a interior game in any way, shape, or form, like imagine if he was like able to add like a bit of a post game. You know what I mean? Even like a mid post like turnaround.
A Kristaps post game, right? Like eventually Kristaps like
we want more for him than the Kristaps
post
game.
But I'm just saying for right now. But like, I feel like Kristaps here later in his career has figured out, like, if you switch onto him, he will take you to the elbow and then he will shoot over you and score it.
Yeah. I think that would be good for Victor. I think Victor has that already. The next
you
step
you want even more. Like, I'm going to take you to the block and I'm going to jump hook or I'm going to.
Yeah. I'm not sitting here saying that, like, he has to be LaMarcus Aldridge, right? But somewhere between the Kristaps, LaMarcus Aldridge, group would be good to me.
Gotcha.
Where like the Spurs can throw it into him and he can create a real shot.
Gotcha.
Right? Like that would be really good.
Even against mismatches, like just against anybody, right? Like even if it's not a switch. Yeah. Sure.
But like imagine if he takes another leap this year like he did as a sophomore. Like imagine that would be essentially he'd be going 27, 12, and 5 assists per game. Like, that's near Giannis shit, while also spacing the court and like drilling threes and also blocking 4 shots a game and being like the most feared interior defender in the league. Like, I mean, if he's that, and then you have Fox, I don't know, man. That team should win 45, right?
Yeah. I need to look at my win totals, conference standing, win average. Yeah. I mean, based on where I have them ranked, I think that's reasonable. So that's
I'm
about
looking at win totals right now just to see if we've got them.
no, we're gonna ruin it. I'm curious.
Yeah, I guess that we shouldn't ruin
We
win
shouldn't
totals.
ruin it. You shouldn't do this. You should stop.
I just want to see what it is, right? Just to get a gauge.
I will not give an answer then.
It's 44.5, and I said 45, which is kind of funny.
That's really funny based off my data as well. So perfect.
Yeah. So look, if they don't take that leap this year, it will be seen as a disappointment, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But like, if Wemby is who we think he is and who I think he is, I think he probably averages 27 and 12 this year.
This has got me excited to watch Wemby again, because I feel like I forgot, like out of sight, out of mind sometimes. And I realize he hasn't been completely, out of, like, you get these updates and all the stuff he does, but this dude is just like a special basketball player whenever his size and everything he can do at his size. And I'm excited now to have him back on the court and evaluate him and on both ends of the floor, because it's so much fun. He breaks the rules.
So like, we have the Wolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets. We have the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, and then we have, I would say, the Rockets and Spurs. And then like the Mavs aren't going to be terrible, right? Like, we think they'll be like competitive.
Play-in team.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, the East or the West, like, feels like to me, there's a chance that there's like a top group, like a top 8 or so, and then like a bottom 7, maybe. But I guess that it's more like there's a top 5 or 6, and then there's like a middle group, and then there's a bottom 4 or 5.
Agreed.
Maybe even like 2 or 3.
100%. Agreed 100%.
Yeah.
And San Antonio's in that middle group for me.
Yeah. And the Spurs should be pretty good, but yeah, we'll see. Yep. Okay. Do you have any other players you want to talk about here? We've got an hour and a half.
I literally have a name for every. Let me just throw a few at you, and then I'll see if you like any of them. So my next names were Mikal Bridges, Kyrie Irving, Jaden Ivey, James Harden. Any of those names stand out to you? Mikal,
Kyrie, no. Harden, no. I mean, look, like, if we're talking about the Clippers, I mean, like, it's Kawhi on some level.
So my quick argument for Harden was, can he replicate what he did last year? Like, if you're excited about the Clippers, it's like, can Harden do again what was a tremendous season from Harden last season?
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like, plausibly.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that, like, he had a really, really good season last year, and he's not exactly young. Are you going to get, I mean, how many minutes did he play last year? Are you going to get 2,800 minutes from Harden last year, or that you got last year, averaging 23 and 9? I don't know. So like that's why I had him.
I think it's a fair point, right? I mean, God, I didn't realize he played 2,800 minutes. Like, if you add up, he was up over 3,000 total minutes last year between the regular season and the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Let's talk about Mikal, because I think that's actually like a pretty good guy.
So Mikal was the next name on my list, for what it's worth. Like, I gave you the next 4 names on my list. Mikal was at the top because, again, I think the Knicks are primed to make a run in the East. I think we know who Jalen Brunson is. At the end of the day, Sam, I think we know who Cat is. I think we know who OG is. I think Mikal is the guy that on both ends, if I was a Knicks fan, GMAC, would want to see some growth this next season to help take this team to the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I think that that's a really good name here. And I think that having him away from Tibbs, where it felt like that wasn't a great wasn't a great situation for everybody involved, could be really beneficial, right? Like he ended up playing, speaking of just pure minutes, right? Mikal literally played 3,000 minutes in the regular season last year. Do you know how many minutes he played, including the playoffs?
3,500.
3,700. I would be fascinated to see if anybody has played 3,700 minutes in a while. Jason Tatum got up there a couple of times where like it was like just a crazy number of minutes, but 3,700 minutes is a very bonkers number. So Tatum in 2022 was right around the 3,700 number. I think he cracked 3,700 and was just like maybe very slightly below where Bridges was, because Bridges was at 3,036 minutes in the regular season and 706, so that'd be like 42. I think that or 3742.
Tatum
I think
played
that
1,000 in the playoffs that year.
Yeah, I think Tatum was at like 37, like 12 or something.
Yep, no, that's right.
So
you're right.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a chance that Bridges played more minutes than like anybody has in years last year. I think it might be good to maybe like allow him to ease off the pedal a little bit, and on court we might see some improved results. Like Bridges is going to be there every game, like we know that he's going to play every game, he's going to be around. And honestly, like the efficiency was better than it had been in Brooklyn, but what made him one of the best role players in the league in the 3 years, like from his second year through his fourth year in Phoenix, right, was just how remarkably efficient he was when he was the fourth option, right? Like he wasn't just like a 50, 35, 81 guy. He was a 53, like 39, 84 guy. Like he made everything around the basket. It felt like he made a ton of threes. I wonder if getting him a little bit more rest, where instead of playing 37 minutes a night, maybe we're at the, 30 to 34 minutes a night level. Even just like losing 400 minutes from the 3,000 he played in the regular season, 500 minutes, I think that would have massive positive benefits on his game in terms of just no longer being completely tired.
I randomly clicked on the 2017-2018 season. You want to guess how many total minutes LeBron James played that year? A season he played all 82 games in the regular season.
Oh, wow. And they went deep that year. I would guess he was at like 41.
So just under 4,000 minutes. 4,000, just under 4,000 total minutes for age 33 LeBron James. It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. But like that might be the last time that we saw somebody get the minute load that Bridges did this year, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. That's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated to see what Bridges has this year under a new coaching staff too, right? Hopefully Mike Brown brings some of the principles that we saw from him in Sacramento, will be entirely different because not as much DHO stuff probably with Fox and Sabonis, probably more like, isolation with Jalen Brunson and screening and trying to force switches and get mismatches and everything like that. But they have the ability to run like a very well-spaced offense, which we saw it a lot of times last year for New York with Karl Towns. Honestly, like I thought about like year 2 Towns.
Sure.
Is another potential answer as well.
Yeah.
Towns gets there very late in the process and like is still adjusting early in the season, I'm sure. I mean, like you allow him to like really settle, you might even get a better version of Towns this year. I think there's like a real case for that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think I just, again, I think people have figured out now where the top of my list was, which was in, for the most part, real title contenders. I considered Towns. I just ultimately landed on Bridges because I'm like, man, if he really is playing his peak for this team, there is the actualized version of these two elite two-way wings with him and OG. And I just think that that would be really, really tough to beat in an Eastern Conference when you already have Brunson and Cat. And we'll see how their depth plays out still.
Okay. Last guy for me.
Okay.
I'm going like big player here. Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards is like kind of on the precipice right now, I think I would argue, of has a chance to be the face of the league, has a chance to be a perennial MVP candidate, has a chance to be like the dude for this era of like American basketball, frankly. Jason Tatum's going to miss this year. Tyrese Halliburton's going to miss a large portion of this year. A lot of the best American players in his age bracket just aren't going to be around this year or are in like kind of funky situations, right?
Is it him or Cade? Like, is Cade the next American name
for this season?
Yeah. Brunson?
Brunson probably is what people will argue. KD, I'm sure people would argue, but like KD is not going to be on the next Olympic team, I would guess, right?
I mean, if you look at
maybe
all
he will, but
if you look at all NBA, like Mitchell, Brunson, Kerr. I mean, if you get rid of the older players,
Mitchell. Yeah, because Mitchell's not that old yet.
Correct. Yeah, I would say like older players. I was saying like obviously no LeBron, no Steph, like, you know, removing those guys. Okay.
Yeah, but like Ant has like a real chance to be that guy, I think, for this upcoming generation. And we're like closing in on, you know, Steph and all these guys, you know, kind of aging out, right? Ant needs to just take that next step as a playmaker, especially with Mike Conley aging, especially with whatever is going to happen with Rob Dillingham, especially with Nickeil Alexander-Walker no longer being there. Ant needs to take that leap. Like, this is the year where it has to happen.
As a playmaker, yeah.
They desperately need him to be able to like really read the court out. He can't just be like the primary playmaker who sometimes takes not great shots, who sometimes will, you know, get a little bit too aggressive and turn the ball over. Like last year, he was at a 1.3 assist to turnover ratio. I would like to see it pretty close to 2 this year. Like, he's never done that. He's never really been all that close to a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's kind of the number for me with Ant this year. Can we get that? But even so, can we just like no longer get some of the more aimless drives that occur from time to time? Can we just get a little bit more defensive awareness off the ball? He has a chance to be a genuinely great defender, but he's not anywhere near all defense yet, even though he's a really good switchable on-ball defender, right?
Yep.
All of these things are so fixable to me. All of these things are literally just like Ant needs to just like watch tape. And like, I think his gifts are so real that he's going to be able to take advantage of what comes his way reactivity wise all the time if he knows where to go with it, and if he has a plan from, you know, having seen on tape, having seen what's going on, right? And just having had more and more experience, right? Having all of this. So I think that Ant is critical this year. he could very easily be in the MVP conversation.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Especially with Minnesota too. Like Rudy Gobert is getting, a little bit older, right? Like this is going to be Rudy Gobert's age 33 season. Julius Randle is 31. And I would imagine he's still going to be quite good because they started to figure that out even more and more and more late in the season. But Mike Conley is 38. Like we're moving into that next era. Like we're in between eras still where like they're contending and Ant is allowing them to contend at a really high level. But we're moving into that next era where of Wolves basketball, just like slowly but surely, right? And to me, Ant has a chance to be the absolute guy league wide that the NBA builds its marketing campaigns around, that the Wolves have made back-to-back conference finals, like that they continue to even grow and mature. They're another team that like very few people are talking about on a national scale, just because we kind of think we know what they are for the most part. And I think it's like fairly reasonable to say that, but losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a big deal for this group. They have to find answers with Terrence Shannon Jr. and Jalen Clark and everything like that. And then Mike Conley's a little bit older, right? Like, can Rob Dillingham just immediately step up into that role? This is a big one for Ant. This is a very big season, in my opinion, for Anthony Edwards. And we need to see that next step, that next piece of growth for him. And I fully think he's capable of it. Like I have no real true like concerns about him, but I think that this is the one where we've got to see it from him, or else is it going to be more just like better version of Donovan Mitchell long term, or is it like no, he can be a top 30 player of all time if he wants to be? Is he going to be Dwayne Wade, or is he going to be like slightly better Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, and I think you outlined the two things perfectly. The playmaking, I hadn't even really considered the roster aspect of it with the aging Conley and the loss of Na, that even more reason. I mean, we were already talking about his playmaking and decision-making because how much teams put two on the ball and all of those type of things. We've highlighted in a very positive way how much he's gotten better playing off 2 feet whenever he drives and gets cut off, but those decision-making. But I think the end for me is the defensive end, because I truly think this is one of those guys we can talk about that it's not just an offensive engine. It's a two-way player. This is a guy that drives your offense, scores a bunch of buckets, is super athletic, but then he's also I don't think you want him taking the number one option on the other team, right? That's what Jaden McDaniels is there for. And, whether it's Jalen Clark or whoever off the bench, but is a guy that's taking the second best player on the other team on the perimeter, or in the final 4 minutes of the game in the Western Conference Finals, he's taking the SGA matchup and trying to lock him down in those moments. And so I think that's where he really has an opportunity, is to establish himself as this two-way wing that, again, like you said, is competing for MVPs, not just all NBA and all stars and all of that, but is truly up there in the conversations of, hey, let's compare Luka Donic to Anthony Edwards. Well, Luka's a better passer, but what about what Ant brings on the defensive end that maybe is, an X factor over anything that Luka does offensively? Like those are the conversations I want to have this year when we're debating first team all NBA type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Ant should be at the very least one of the 6 best players in the league this year, in my opinion. You can look at, Jokic, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Tatum is out. So like that's, he's out of the conversation here. Victor, Wemby will be in the conversation. Ant should be in that conversation with Wemby, and, I guess Donovan Mitchell will be incredibly important this year as well, just being the primary scorer for an awesome team. And, you can bring up Jalen Brunson, but like Anthony Edwards should be, tools wise and where he is in terms of his game and polish wise, it should not be a conversation as to who's ahead between Jalen Brunson and Anthony
I agree
Edwards.
with this.
I love Jalen Brunson. He's an unbelievable player. But if Anthony Edwards does what he's supposed to do and continue to grow and mature his game on the ball and get even better and better, it shouldn't be a conversation, right? It was a conversation last year, but it shouldn't be moving forward, right? So
if he does what he should. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's right. The last guy, I said that was going to be my last guy, but like the final player I will call out here is, I don't know what to make of this team yet. They're just like very funky to me, and like I don't know if they're in that middle group of the West or if they're kind of in like the bottom group of the West. But like, I think Ja Morant is like so important this year.
I had him on my list. I couldn't decide which side of it to put on because I didn't know if they were in the middle group of the West or if they're the other side. But Morant was the name I had for the Grizzlies, 100%.
A truly fascinating player that I have no idea. Is he going to be like completely locked in and be the guy that we saw in the first half of Game 3 against Oklahoma City? And like, God, the Grizzlies were really good last year up until like the halfway or like even the 2/3 mark of the year, and then they just completely fell off a cliff. Is it like, are him and Jaren going to be able to like be this unbelievable combo together? I mean, if they are, like, if Ja is the way that he was, Game 3 of the playoffs against Oklahoma City, and we see that guy for 2/3 of the year, and then we see, normal Ja for a third of the year, right? And he plays 70 games. I mean, like, the Grizzlies might win 48 to 50 games. You know what? Like, what we've seen from Ja Morant is that he can be genuinely special when he's on the court. But man, I mean, like, between the injuries and the fact that he can, just struggle sometimes with his efficiency, it's hard. It's really hard. But man, like, without Desmond Bane there now, Ja Morant is just such a critical, important player league wide right now. Because if he's not the guy, I mean, Memphis is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like they basically have to move him and then like not totally restart, but like kind of restart a little bit.
Yeah. And you got the coaching change. Like you that will be interesting to see, like, with the offense built around what he does. So I think, yeah, I don't know what to think about Memphis, Sam, because I really like Jaren Jackson Jr. I really like some of their other players, the young guys, the moves along. You're wearing the shirt. I know. I got it. And it just really is, is Ja that guy or not? And that's what, like, I told, they ended up on the other side of the list for me. And I absolutely went Ja because I'm like, what if he does, like, what if this ends up in a trade situation? I don't think that's going to happen in season, but if he's really good, man, like, I want him
almost more interested in talking about what if he's fucking awesome again.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I agree.
You know
with that.
What I mean?
I would rather talk about that than the other, because if he's awesome and Jaren is awesome and the new offensive scheme fits them, then you get a chance. Like, I know we joke, but then to see all of these other guys fulfill their roles, because if Ja's not there, it's going to be a bunch of dudes trying to play above what they should be. Jaren's not a number one option on a, like, top 6 team in the West. All of these other dudes aren't number 2 options on a top 6 team in the West. And so Ja has to be, for them to be a real factor in the Western Conference. But if he is, Jaren is absolutely a number 2 option on a team. And then every, the plethora of, players they have behind them. So it's a good call. It definitely a nice shout out here.
It's just a really, really important year for Morant. This, much in the same way as it's the most important year of Trae Young's career. It's absolutely the most important year of Ja Morant's career. Yeah. And then Memphis, like, obviously they have the wing depth between Jalen Wells and KCP now, whatever he's going to be. And, they draft Cedric Coward and Cam Spencer. And Vince Williams Jr. and like, all these dudes that hopefully can play on the wing, and then they go out and they get Ty Jerome to play as the backup point guard who can step in a big moment if Ja Morant misses some games, right? And then Cam Spencer. And then like you have the bigs with Zach Edey. Like Edey's not going to be healthy to start the year. What is that? It's really important.
Santi Aldama.
Yeah, like you re-sign Santi. Like I am not totally sure what all of this is going to look like for them, but I know I'm interested to watch them. And like they could be like the 6th seed very easily in the West if Ja Morant is awesome.
Yeah. Or they could be out of the play-in if he's not, or injured all the time.
Like they could be out of the play-in picture by like February if Ja is hurt and like Jaren takes longer to come back than people think and everything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So yeah. I guess that I don't know. Did you have anyone in the Raptors? Like I had Scotty Barnes on my longer list.
I had RJ Barrett as a trade candidate was more of what I had. Like, I
almost want to save the trade candidates for like, maybe we'll do that in the preseason, like who are guys we're tracking for preseason, like that could end up being trade candidates. Yeah, like to me, Barnes was more important than RJ just because funky team. Now we've got, Brandon Ingram taking on real minutes.
Yeah.
How does all that look, right? Can Scotty be like the number one guy, right? Is going to be really interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, like anybody on the I think that Magic team's just going to be good.
I
didn't really put anybody on the Magic.
I had Suggs just because, like, I think I know. For me, I feel like I know who Paulo is. Franz. Listen, the Suggs was on my list.
I just think that they're going to be good. Is kind of my thing. Like,
my thing is, I think I know who those guys are. My thing with Suggs was just going to be like, can you come back and be the defensive player that we think he is, and then knock down threes at the way he did 2 years ago? So Suggs was on my list. Miles Turner was on my list.
It's a good name. I mean, like, I don't really want to talk about Kevin Porter Jr., but like Kevin Porter Jr. is really important because he's going to be playing on ball quite a bit next to Giannis.
I put guard play. I wasn't going to put that name. So
yeah.
Like I said, the rest of my other names were all like, okay, who might be traded on this team that actually could make a difference for other teams so I don't know that we want to like rattle those.
Yeah, we'll save that for another podcast. Perfect. I think that's the move.
Love it.
Okay. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, the Motor City Hoops Substack, as well as we'll make consistent every once in a while contributions to the new Game Theory Sam V podcast, Substack, the Pistons Pulse podcast, and of course, right here with Sam Vecenie on the Game Theory podcast.
Okay, tomorrow the Substack is going to go live. Go hit the subscribe button over on the Substack. It is the best way that you can support us over at the show. If you enjoy what we do, we promise we're going to give you guys great content over there. We'll have some fun. We will certainly be breaking down a lot of basketball tape over there. I would imagine you guys will get your fill of that. We're charging for it, but I think it will be worthwhile for you. Go to the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. The Athletic is just the best. We're already working through draft guide, guys. It's that time of the year. I have written 7 draft guide profiles, Bryce. I am a very deeply disturbed individual. Like, there's just not really another way to put it at this point. We talked about, I think I texted you that I was doing Sturts.
Yep.
Sturts is a very fun one.
Yeah.
What a fun game.
Yep.
What a player. What a scheme with McCollum. Man, I love him so much. I truly love him. Yeah, I'm excited though. I'm excited to kind of get to continue to share some content with you guys, and we're gonna have so much great stuff coming up here. So go to the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go subscribe on the YouTube channel. Game Theory Podcast with Sam Vecenie. Go do whatever you can to support the show. We appreciate all of you guys immensely. It's just laughable to me that we have 72,000 YouTube subscribers. Just a crazy number. Just a crazy number. Thank you guys so much for coming to rock with the show. If you're watching live, hit the like button. If you're watching this after the fact, hit the like button. Again, the subscribe button is always appreciated. We will be back on Thursday with something else. I can't remember if we're doing win totals yet or not. That might be next week. It might be next Sunday when we start those. I'm not totally sure yet, but we'll figure it out. So until next time, we'll talk soon.